There's a big city set in the heart of this lovely Warwickshire countryside, a city that sprang up from fields and glades like these and overwhelmed them and pushed them back to satisfy the ever-increasing demands of men in their march of progress. On the outskirts of the city of Birmingham, great parks and castles grew up through the years, but all that happened quite a time ago, because the Bullring, as this is called to this day, was granted a royal market charter in the year 1166. That was presumably some sort of post-war development scheme after 1066. Birmingham was only a small place even quite recently. Well, fairly recently. The population was no more than 12,000 in the year 1700. By 1939 it was 1 million. Joseph Chamberlain, that famous statesman, became mayor of Birmingham in 1875. That, of course, has nothing to do with the population, but it is impossible to discuss the history of Birmingham over the past century without recalling that austere face with the eyeglass and paying tribute to the progress Birmingham has made under the guidance of his family. This is the Birmingham Council Chamber, and inside it you find the councillors. Councillors are people who are elected to do a lot of work for which they very seldom get any thanks. So we'll leave them for a look at the municipal bank, or a stroll by the water in Ashton Park. Birmingham has always made a big thing of its municipal housing scheme. 50,000 houses were built by 1939. The old people of the city are taken care of in the Oscott Home for the Aged. Chamberlain's house is also used as a haven for those who have reached the evening of their days. And there are several other enchanting spots for those who have hardly begun the morning. I wouldn't mind a bit of that myself. However, unfortunately, we have to grow up and do tiresome things like going to school and falling in love. For going to school, there is the old King Edward School founded in 1552. Or there is the modern grammar school. This is the university, where the youth of today is getting ready to grapple with the kind of mess the world will be in by tomorrow. And for the pursuit of medical knowledge, there is the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and Medical School. But now we're going out of Birmingham to look at something that comes in. The Elan Valley Water Scheme was inaugurated by King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra in 1904, a scheme which brought water from this Welsh valley 150 miles away to Birmingham. It seems a long way, but it's probably a rather clever method of telling the world that in Birmingham they don't get much wet weather. This is one of the Birmingham reservoirs. And of course it wouldn't be right to ignore the gasworks busily making therms, or the power station run by those two famous brothers, Watts and Kilowatts. There is also a clock called Big Brum with the time showing that the cameraman was working late. Or it may have been early in the morning because we now see all the buses coming out and a lot of people going to work. They get up early in the morning in Birmingham in order to get ahead of the people who get up early in the morning in other places. There's magic in the rhythm of a big city beginning its busy day. Iron and steel, the flash and sparkle of molten metal, from a memory of knights in their armor to the modern demand for tires for railway wheels. This is an iron foundry. This is the big machine shop of a great electrical works, making, among other things, dynamos. All this activity which brought us through the greatest mechanical and scientific war of any age is now turning over to the requirements of peace. All the tremendous energy and ingenuity that so lately concentrated on destruction, now bent on the terrific task of reconstruction. This is a completed generator which is bound for Russia, a friendly envoy that can be trusted not to get into any political arguments. Another of the great industries for which Birmingham is famous is electroplating. This is the process that makes the baser metals shine like silver to bring a touch of brightness into the dullest home. So we leave the gentleman putting the final touch to his cigarette case and go and have a look round one of the car factories. One of the things that will always remain a mystery to the man in the street is where all the new cars go to. Of course, a good many of them go just where he was going himself, and the man in the street has to hop out of the way. But apart from that, it does seem strange that so many great car factories can turn out hundreds of new models every day and still find a market. But the post-war shortage of cars has shown very clearly that the terrific yearly output of new cars was only just great enough to supply the constant demand. With which consoling thought, you will probably go on waiting for your new car until you've spent the money on something else. Yes, but of course there are so many going for export, you know. Here's the home of another of the important industries of Birmingham, the factory where pneumatic rubber tires are made. At present they aren't pneumatic or tires or even rubber. This is just the weaving for the canvas part, and it's done with bobbins and thread like ordinary weaving. That's the foundation that you're inclined to ignore until you have to pull a large nail out of it. Rather nice for a lampshade. And now we'll go and have a look at the machines which are making the canvas and adding the rubber. It's a much toughened, chemically compounded rubber, very far removed from the gluey mess that runs out of trees into little cups hung round the trunk like a bib to catch the dribbling. The tires are molded under steam pressure. They are given a non-skid tread and the name of the maker, and sprayed and polished to look like things of beauty as well as utility. New tires especially look like things of beauty when your old tires have been worn down to the canvas. Something else designed to be filled with wind is the bosun's pipe. The making of these for the Navy is one of the very special hereditary crafts of Birmingham. These are the shrill whistles with which admirals and other exceedingly important people are greeted when they come on board. Both the Royal Navy and US Navy types are made here. And now, by way of a change from work, we'll visit a nearby Lido. But it isn't purely and simply a resort of leisure. It's part of a chocolate factory. In the year 1879, two brothers decided that it wasn't necessary for a factory to be stuck right in the middle of a town surrounded by grime and smoke. And they took their factory to pleasant, countrified surroundings. Their competitors were amazed, but it was successful, and it began a movement for healthier and pleasanter surroundings for factories, to the great benefit of all who work in them. And while we're here, we might as well have a look at the manufacture of chocolates, just in case we're forgetting what they look like. Birmingham is also a great place for bicycles, and here it may be worthwhile to inform anybody who has ever tried to put back a link in a broken chain on a foggy Saturday afternoon that in the factory, the parts they assemble are not covered with a thick layer of greasy dirt. Not forgetting the bicycle's big brother, the motorbike. And as a change from all this work and industry, and before somebody asks us to lend a hand, let us slide quietly off to the open countryside once more, to have a look at Warwick and the castle. Warwick Castle has a history that reaches back into the mists of the past. Some say that part of its foundation is of Roman origin. Others say it was first built by a forgotten king of Britain earlier still. Students of history will remember its connection with Warwick the Kingmaker and Piers Gaveston, King Charles and Edward II. On the whole, we can assume that Warwick Castle has been here some time. Yes, Warwick is a pleasant county. Not least pleasant when you go to Stratford-on-Avon to meditate in the place where Will Shakespeare lived. Here Shakespeare was born in the year 1564. Stratford-on-Avon has kept a character not unworthy of that great man who gave so much to the world. This is Anne Hathaway's cottage. And this is the church where Shakespeare is buried. And there in the background is the tribute of the modern, the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre. There are associations with other famous men in Stratford. This is Harvard House, where the founder of America's Harvard University was born. Sulgrave Manor, in the village of Sulgrave, is rich in historical associations. Sulgrave Manor, the home of the ancestors of George Washington, who went out through these gates to America. There is the Washington coat of arms, something left behind in the old world as memorial to a great figure of the new, something of the inspiration in a new land that grew and gained its strength from the old.